Welcome. My name is Holly Fairbank from the Maxine Green Institute. I want to welcome you here today on May 13th, 2021 to celebrate and appreciate the two interns from the Career Development Program at Center for Arts Education who helped us at the Institute this spring, Isabella Diaz and Lezlie Villegas. It's truly an honor to have worked with you, and let's get started. I'd also like to introduce my co-host, Eve Hauser. Hi, Eve.
Hi, I'm Eve. I'm a recent graduate of American University, and I was an intern for the Maxine Green Institute last summer, and I helped supervise the interns this spring.
Great, thank you. And I'd like to start by asking Isabella and Lezlie to introduce themselves. So let's start with Lezlie.
Hello, my name is Lezlie. I currently attend the High School of Art and Design. I am a rising senior, so next year and during the fall, I will be attending NYU. And I have to say that during the time here for a career development program, I had to interview with a couple of organizations and institutes, and I'm so glad to have been selected to work at Maxine Green Institute.
We're glad to have had you. Isabella.
Hello, my name is Isabella. I'm also, like Lezlie, a rising senior. In the fall, I will be attending FIT. And I am very happy to have been chosen to work with Maxine Green as well. I am also in the CDP program, and the CDP program has helped us with our future endeavors for those who want to continue in the arts career. So I'm really happy to have had this opportunity.
Great. Let's get started and talking about the actual internship. So let's start with Eve and Lezlie. I wonder if you could describe a little bit about what the jobs that you worked on together in relationship to the library in particular.
So Lezlie and I were focused on two main projects, and one of them was going through dissertations of works that expanded upon Maxine Green theories. And we use open access websites and on scholarly repositories to do that. And so I can share kind of what I should have shared my screen before, sorry. But yeah, so here is an example of where we were keeping track of these dissertations, and they're gonna soon be put on the website, in the library on the website under the inspiration. So showing works that were inspired by Maxine Green. Then we also focused on the other project, which was the artist project, where we took artists, whether it was visual art or poets or composers that Maxine Green had referenced in her, specifically Lezlie was working with Releasing the Imagination. And so here we have a spreadsheet that has a bunch of different people that Maxine was influenced by and that she referenced. And so all the references are there, and there's pictures, and those can also be uploaded into the site and are in the process of doing that. So there's an example here. We have one of those entries that it kind of comes to life on the website. And then if there's anything Lezlie wants to add.
Yeah, so right now there is a car honking outside, but the first project that we did was, like Eve said, we did find and select dissertations. So we would use websites such as PQDT links, OATD links, and it was very nice to see how when I was looking at all these dissertations, they were all from different universities. So it was nice to see how Maxine's Green reputation has been like worldwide, and so then the next project was the artistic project, and for this one I referenced it on the book Releasing the Imagination, and I read the whole book. It was an amazing book, and when it comes to the title Imagination, something that really stuck with me was she says that imagination is like you're in an alternate universe. And at first I didn't get it, but what she meant was that in our mind, we can think past our limits, and just she really wanted us to question ourselves. So I really do think that I'm getting off track. I'm getting off track. But just to continue on with the project, I did look for different poets, different artists, and I put them all on a spreadsheet.
This is a real dream come true for us to have completed this project, or at least get it started. So it's really grateful that you did that, and so glad you enjoyed the book. So Lezlie also, Isabella also worked on that artist inspirations that Maxine that list, and you were working specifically from variations on a blue guitar.
Yes, I got the book Variations on a Blue Guitar. Basically, the sheet was just to reference back to what Maxine Green's inspirations were. And I would use just Google, or later on, I had to use Wikipedia to make sure that every image, or at least some of the videos were, were not valid, like in violating any copyright issues. So I used the, simple Google just to help fill out the spreadsheet. And other than that, it was just, also looking back in the book to make sure if I'm missing anything, if there was any missing information. It was really helpful to have our weekly check-ins to make sure we were all on the same page. Everything was really organized, and I'm also happy that we all got to complete the projects we were assigned to.
Yes. Before we go on to the media aspect of your internship, Isabella, I was just wanted to comment on how valuable this is, because when people are reading through those books, a lot of times they don't know the references, and so now we're really making them available in terms of the composers and the artists and their artworks. It makes it more vivid for the reader. So it's a valuable project for us as we bring forward Maxine's work. And in talking about your other aspect of your internship, Isabel, we had wanted to do some social media development for the institute. We didn't have we didn't previously had a Facebook, but we didn't have an Instagram or a Twitter account. So you helped us with that. And here's an example. I'll put it up for you, and then you can tell us a little bit about what that project was like. Here it is. Can you tell us a little bit about this project and how we went about doing it together, Isabella?
Yeah, so as a media intern at this internship, Holly provided me all these images and potential captions. These were actually the captions for the posts. They were quotes by Maxine Green. I'd also put the title and the author of the artwork. It could have been a painting, or as you see there, a scene from a play. Also, there was some dance in there too. I would do on Instagram and on Twitter, I would post these things, not really always in order, but just to make sure that they all, were and ended up being posted. As well, I would include hashtags that would relate to the following image and the whole Maxine Green idea. So hashtags such as hashtag philosophy, hashtag educator, all those hashtags to also bring in more audience, so that way there can be more people knowing what is Maxine Green about, what is going on, and it could help clear up some things.
Terrific. Thank you. The other, and we're still continuing that. So we posted a lot of them, and now that I know how to do it with your help, I'll continue on with that practice. The other aspect of your job was we asked you to please upgrade our logo for the Institute for Imagination, Inquiry, and Innovation. And you brought us forward into the 21st century. Tell us a little bit about this project and the back and forth that we had with it.
Yeah, so the I4 logo was actually a really fun project I worked on during this internship. I there was many different logos that I designed. It's just that I had to understand the needs and wants of both you and the organization. So I had to go back to reference to the logo on Maxine Green's website. There is, there's this, it's kind of a blue brushstroke on her name. So I had to kind of balance it off. And I would also look at the title, and I remember that in the old logo, it had sort of, the circular kind of motion, and they wanted to keep that kind of idea, but just make it a bit more abstract, a bit more modern, to just update it and add some more life into it, but too not too out there enough to make it mature almost. So I just, it was constant back and forth, but with the right advice, I took it into a lot of consideration to make this logo. And I'm pretty happy with it.
Yes, I am too. I think we have a few more beats to go with it, but you got us on the right trajectory, and it really helped us to look more deeply and working with you and to articulating what it is that we wanted to go where we wanted to go. So you were a very willing and capable guide in that. So going back to moving on to your own projects, these were so valuable to us, and we've got a real sort of platform now to go ahead with, to build on. But I'm wondering if, Lezlie, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us your final project that is, again, a requirement of the CDP program, but we're honored to have it. We can post it on our own website and to talk about the inspiration that Maxine gave to you.
So just to add on, for this project, we were asked to basically, during our time for our internship, we've done the internship for about 3 months now. So basically what we learned and, how we were inspired. So what I did was I wanted to have both my time during Maxine Green Institute and my time during CDP. So what I did was I took a bunch of Maxine Green's quotes and I put them on a canvas. So I didn't take a picture of it. I have it right here, but okay, it's hard to see in the light, but basically what I did was I used all these quotes and I highlighted the most important, or what I connected to, with black ink, and the rest was in red ink. And the thing that I learned was that art can be anything. So most of the time in my artwork, I was very realistic with it. I was always exact. And what I wanted to do was just be like very free with it. So I incorporated butterflies, because when I think of butterflies, I think of like flying, it's like a new step in your life. So I really do think that I learned a lot, and just to like dream big, and I go past my limits. So so yeah.
It feels to me like butterflies maybe are sort of releasing your imagination.
Yeah.
A little bit. It's beautiful. So we'll get the way, if you can send us a photograph, we'll post that on our website in your honor and your dedicate to you to Maxine. Thank you. Beautiful work.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Thank you.
Isabella, can you share with us your final project?
Yeah, so I also wanted to represent how Maxine Green inspired me. I actually also did the whole quotes idea. I took quotes from the book. I didn't do that many quotes, but I chose the ones that stood out to me the most when I was reading. I have it right here. And I also used color based on, I actually used butterflies too, which is kind of like funny, but I made like a book, and something that I did new with this whole thing is like there's the brush strokes that I did were very different from what I normally do. I usually blend things out, but Maxine Green has her sayings have allowed me to take risks with my art, and I've never done this before, like these type of brush strokes. So I was really afraid of how it would come out, especially with the book. I was afraid that maybe it wouldn't look that good, but I kept on going and I didn't stop. So I kept on, moving along. And within the butterfly wings, if you look carefully, unfortunately, it's kind of hard to see over the computer, but I included some of her quotes within the wings. I also chose the background color based on, just the whole colors that I saw on the website, but also blue means, freedom, and it's basically like almost tranquil, but mainly I liked the more freedom aspect of it because being free with your own work, being free with your own words and not restricting yourself is kind of what I got from this whole experience at Maxine Green. And just the book I included because as soon as you open a book, so many things can come to mind, your imagination sparks. So that's the reason why I also included a book. And yeah, that's basically what
That's a wonderful explanation. I think that's so true. When you, especially with Maxine's work, no matter what page you open on, it's just things start to fly out, ideas and quotes and every single page. So I think you really grasped that concept there.
Yeah, and I love how you're able to recognize like how what you learned influenced like your own work as an artist. That was really cool to hear.
Thank you.
That's terrific. So we will look forward to posting that. What we wanted to move on to before we finish is some questions that we thought would go a little deeper into some of the things you've been talking about already. So Eve, you have start us off with a question, and then we can sort of go back and forth with the ladies.
Yeah, so our first question that we thought of was just kind of an overview of what your lasting takeaways from this internship are. Either one of you can go first.
I could go first. So my lasting takeaway would probably be that Maxine Green is kind of reminding me of like that inner voice that we all have. It kind of tells us, you want to do something, but you're kind of like holding back. But she didn't seem afraid to tell people what things are, or wasn't afraid of questioning things. And I feel like if you question things, that's a good sign. It doesn't mean that you're not smart enough, or you doubt too much. It just means that you're actually curious about things. And I think that, experiencing her, I would reference back to the documentary I watched with Exclusions and Awakenings and her book. Just hearing her words, reading her words, it really, made me feel like I can take risks without feeling like I have to always doubt myself. And if I do question my process, that's only just a good sign, and just to keep pushing. And there's always so much more left to do. There's so much about this world that we don't know, but Maxine Green makes it almost comfortable to think that way. And I think that's very important. I'm glad to have realized that.
That's beautiful. Lezlie, you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's funny because when I heard what Isabella said, I totally relate to it. In my perspective as well, I really do think I'm gonna now push my limits. I feel like sometimes I can restrict myself when it comes to like work, or just having like a pattern of, if I do something like this, I have to continue doing it that way. So I definitely do think when it comes to like imagination, to really just push myself out there. And even in the future, I think I'm gonna go for like the biggest dream that I have and just like keep going after it. Yeah.
Wow. I think you've, in many ways, already answered the question that I have next, which is, as artists yourselves, in what ways does Maxine's philosophy influence or change your perspective on art and education, and/or education? You already touched on that when you were talking about your projects, but is there something further you'd like to add? How has she changed your perspective, either through art or education, or both?
I'd go first. So I major in fashion in my school, and I think something that I always had with me was like, okay, fashion like helps boost my confidence, but I don't think I really thought of it in other perspectives as well. Like when it comes to like aesthetic education or education in general, it really is important to like inform yourself about more about like how the world is like or shaped the way it is. So in my classes, I had art history, and I think before like I didn't really pay much attention to like the meaning and background of art. So
Mm.
I do think now, like when it comes to looking at an artwork, like not just to only look at it, but to inform yourself and like see like where it was inspired by or why was it created. So yeah.
Mm.
I agree with Leslie 100%. I mean, looking deeper into the meaning of things is what I've always, thought of. Um, and, there's also something that Maxine Green said at her documentary, saying that even at her age, she still feels like there's something left to do. She is what she is, but there's, but not yet. And I feel like I relate to that a lot. So with art, I feel like just taking risks, it's what it's all about. I am, it's going to specialize hopefully in graphic design. And with graphic design, there are a lot of trends, but it's really nice to have, that person who kind of steps out of their comfort zone once in a while. And I think that's someone who I want to be in order to show people that not always, following with the trend is okay. I mean, it's okay, but it's also good to, step out of your comfort zone once in a while, and it may be a good result, it may be not, but that's, it's all about taking the risk, and you don't, not to look back with any regrets.
Terrific. Eve, do you have another question?
Yeah, this question is about Maxine and her philosophies, and which aspects of Maxine's philosophies do you find particularly relevant for your generation?
I'll go first for this one. So I remember she said that the good old days were a mess. And I feel like almost every generation, can look back and say, oh, there were some good times. Right now, the world is kind of chaotic, but I love how our generation is speaking up to many things. And I have a feeling that she would also feel very happy about that people are actually speaking up about things and, fighting for what they believe in. And I love seeing that. And just when I was watching her documentary, I had that feeling that maybe if she were here today, she would feel very proud of the younger generations for stepping up and not being silent and not restricting themselves and not like locking themselves in. I feel like her sayings would really help this generation.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just like to add on, I think because when we were watching the documentaries of Maxine Green, something that she went through was that she taught in a university. She taught in NYU, and I forgot the other one, but she had to step in the back door. She couldn't enter the front door because, you'd be discriminated. And I think something that to look at now is, now there's a lot of female teachers, like gender is more of a thing, and it's more out there. And especially now, I think our generation has brought up topics that haven't really been talked about. Like even nowadays, like with everything that's happening, on Instagram, you always see like, oh, like sign this petition or speak about this. So more of just like really like, using your voice for the better. So yeah.
She would be so thrilled to hear you say all these things because she
Yeah.
always seems so relevant. Isn't that true, Eva? What do you think?
Yeah, I think especially just the thought of like speaking up, and that now it's stuff that for her in her time, it was kind of unique. Her position was unique. I think she would be really proud to see that it's no longer like, although she's still a unique person, that like there are all of these other people out there. Like I think she really set a path for, especially like when I see like read what she said as a woman myself, it like inspires me. And I hope that she would be proud of, and I think she would, just at how far everything's come. And that everyone's so vocal. At least I think we're kind of in the same generation too, because I'm still pretty young. That our generation is very, very vocal, and it's not this thing that everyone wants to brush under the rug anymore.
That's great. She loved young people. She had such faith and belief in young people. So it's wonderful to hear that. My final question is, if you had an opportunity to ask Maxine a question, what would it be? What would you like her to answer you?
I feel like I mentioned this before when she said she still feels she has something to do. I would ask her if, even though when things were, um, I feel like I would ask her, did she ever feel like at some point she did enough for herself? Or was she happy with herself? And, you know, because oftentimes when you keep reaching out for more, you kind of forget where you are a little bit. I would ask her if she really
Mm,
was ever, she ever did something that was enough for herself,
mm,
if that makes sense. I feel like I would ask her that.
mm.
I think what I would ask her was I want to know like where like her courage like came from, or what really inspired her. And also I feel like in life there's always like the new journey that's going to happen. So if like she could turn back time, with something that she would have done differently than the way she did it. So yeah.
Wow. Well, I can only imagine knowing Maxine. She had a wonderful sense of humor and she had a real wisdom, but she didn't come off as somebody who acted like she knew everything. She was always the "I am what I am not yet" kind of a person, and um, I think, was always doubting herself and doubting, her abilities and her courage. So even though to us it seems so obvious, to her, I think she was always reaching. Um, and that's a good model to have too, when we may feel lesser than we want to be. She's a good role model for somebody who was obviously terrifically influential, and and yes, to your point, you we've talked a lot about her influences and what gave her courage and vision, and opened her imagination. So thank you for all of the work that you've done to invest yourself in her work and getting to know her. Um, is there any final thoughts that you want to share, ladies? Any one of you, about this internship project and what you're taking away from it? That you've said quite a bit already, but is there any final words?
Well, I wanted to ask you, Holly, how you felt this year with this internship experience, knowing it was online. How did you feel?
Well, it was sort of going along in parallel with working with my undergraduate and graduate students in CUNY. So it was an adjustment to think about actually doing applied work as opposed to theoretical work. It was, and also struggling with the stuff that we were trying to do back and forth between us, Isabella, when we were doing our project. So at least I'd gotten a handle on some of the Zoom issues and technologies, but you helped bring me into the 21st century, so I'm very grateful. In this, I only wish that I could be in the same room with you guys at some point, but maybe that'll happen. Eve, what did you feel about, what did you take away?
It's interesting because when I started interning with the Maxine Green Foundation, it was right at kind of the height of the pandemic. And so it's always been this virtual thing. But I know that when CDP sent us out questionnaires, they also asked us how we felt about an online format. And I think that if it would have been really interesting, especially with the library work, to go into the library and to have that physical. I think that for me, that's a part of aesthetic education as well, as kind of like the whole process of viewing art, and not just getting some kind of physical, tangible thing would have been really awesome. But I think that we did a really great job with what we had. And it did kind of show me how far the internet can go, and to even when we were trying to find these really old pieces of art from so long ago, that they're there. And I think we did a really good job with what we had.
I think you all did too. I think we
Yeah.
did a great job, ladies. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want to thank the folks at the Center for Arts Education and CDP who I actually know from past work with them, how wonderful that program is. And we really look forward to doing more internship with them in the future. But before that happens, I wish congratulations to the two of you for moving on with your lives, and honored to be a part of your senior year through Zoom. I hope you get to have a really fun end of your difficult semester, but you're just above and beyond what I could have hoped for. So I wish you all the best, and I hope you keep in touch with us too. And Eve, we'll be seeing you as well, I hope. Ongoing.
Yeah, and congrats on your college acceptances. That's such an exciting thing.
Yeah. Great. So we'll keep in touch, I hope, and we'll post these your projects. If you would mind sending a photograph of that in, we'll post them on our website with your picture and a little explanation to the folks so that they know about our internship program. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Thank you for everything. I definitely did learn a lot.
I'm gonna miss you. Bye, everybody. Good night. Congratulations.
I'm gonna miss seeing you guys, but
Yeah, me too.
Me too. Take care, y'all. Congrats. Bye-bye.
Bye.